47% of the United States lives in a Tree City community. This spring, a group of volunteers are leading the charge to make Holliston a Tree City. Today, we're here at Stoddard Park, and we're going to welcome Sharon Thornton and Nikki Hafele from the Garden Club to tell us how. Hi, guys.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Sharon, what gave you the idea to become a Tree City?
Well, when they took down all the trees at 555 Hopping Brook, we decided that maybe we should start thinking about saving our trees in town.
Mm-hmm.
And a group of us got together and said, you know, what could we do to do that? And one way would be to become a Tree City, because in the Tree City application, you have to have a tree committee.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a tree warden,
Yep.
which we have.
Yep.
You have to spend $2 per capita on trees each year, which we already do, and we exceed that number.
Oh.
So taxes aren't going to go up.
Great.
The other thing that they require is, let's see.
The ordinance, right?
Well, it's actually a bylaw for a town.
Bylaw.
And it's an ordinance for a city. And we're a town, so we would have a new bylaw.
Okay.
And they're working on that right now. And that's the final piece of required to become a Tree City. You also were supposed to have some kind of a survey done. And the Garden Club had done a survey in 2010 of the trees that we planted, and we put it on our website and connected to the town's website so that we have that covered. And in the future, we actually plan on doing what we call legacy trees, where we are trying to get an inventory of all our great trees in town, and that way we'll have some idea of, you know, the trees that should not be just chopped down.
Yeah. So this is a really wide effort.
It is.
So why become a Tree City? What are the benefits?
Well, your evaluation on your houses usually go up. Businesses like to move into Tree Cities because there's less vandalism in those cities, which has been actually documented by Baltimore had they increased, in an urban area, they increased the canopy of 10%, and they found a 12% reduction in crime, vandalism, graffiti, things that you don't want in your city, and that's why we know that helps with that.
Sure.
Also, trees give us so much. They beautify the area. They help with energy costs because they lower the temperature in the summer. They become wind barriers in the wintertime. What are some of the other benefits?
Trees in urban areas reduce noise pollution. So as you're going through, you can't hear all of the cars and all of the other things that are happening on. And I think really just they're beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that they help wildlife, right?
Oh,
Wildlife,
definitely.
birds, insects, the
Better.
whole ecosystem gets better because of trees.
Only if they're native.
Good point.
Only if they're native. The native trees are the best, and they have the best chance of survival here if you plant native.
Right.
So
And they
trying to
also help
encourage
with
that.
soil erosion.
Correct.
Yeah.
And water.
Yeah,
because
and water retention.
Retaining water.
Yeah.
Yep.
retaining water and also giving us water, because they have a process it's called evaporation, where they take it up into their leaves and then they release it into the atmosphere when they take in the pollutants. So that's a good thing, a good feature.
Well, how can, so you've talked about the steps to become a Tree City. What's the last thing we need to do
We need to pass the bylaw that the town is now making, and that's going to happen May 15th. Everybody should go to the high school at 7 o'clock and vote for it.
town meeting, right?
It's the annual town meeting,
Yep.
yes. And it normally is on the 8th, but this year it's on the 15th.
Okay, so that's how every citizen can help us become a Tree City.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the Tree City designation only covers public trees, right? It doesn't cover the trees in my yard.
No, exactly. It's only public areas, which would be like schools, libraries, parks, golf courses. Any land that's owned by the town itself would be covered.
Okay, sounds good.
And in the bylaw, it would actually state if you take down a such and such, like a 10 diameter tree, what needs to be planted in its place. And that's one of the issues that we're working on now.
Oh yeah, you're working out the language to the bylaws.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. On a personal level, what's your favorite trees in town? Nikki, can I start with you?
Sure. I really, although it's not native, really love the magnolia on Washington Street.
Oh, yeah.
I think magnolias in the spring are just the most beautiful thing ever, and I love them in the summer. Like, the leaves are great, but I love all trees. I could sit all day and look at trees and just hang out at the park.
Yeah,
True.
That's great.
True.
How about you, Sharon?
I absolutely love the flowering dogwoods, the pink that are along
Yeah.
the right next to the town hall. We have them all along. We planted those actually, the garden club, and when they're in full bloom, the whole row looks so pretty.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorites.
Beautiful, yeah.
I also like the tulip tree, but the only problem with the tulip tree is as it gets older and large, you can't see how big the blossom is, and that is sad because the blossoms are really huge and they look like tulips.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I were to plant a tree in my yard, what would you recommend I plant?
I would recommend you have a soil test, number one,
Okay.
and you can do that through the Mass Extension program, and you'd have to pay. But what you would do is you would take samples of the area in 6 places, like a tablespoon, put it in a baggie,
Yep.
send it off, and then you will find out what your soil type is like, because that's going to affect your tree.
Sure.
It's also how much shade, how much sun, if it's going under other trees, if it's going to be standalone. Those things you have to consider before you plant the tree, and then how it's going to be watered.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So.
What type of tree is does well here? Maples?
Maples are really good because they're native.
Yep.
Oaks do well.
Yep.
There are lots of trees that do well. I would not plant a pear tree. The pear trees now, for some reason, I think are going to end up being invasive.
Oh.
Because if you see one, like I noticed downtown, there was just one for years, and then all of a sudden there were a couple that popped up. And I've seen that in other places as well. So I think over time we're going to find that that's going to be on our invasive list. So I wouldn't plant one of those, although I do think they're pretty and they have the nice cone shape.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Sounds like the garden club has a lot of knowledge. You're just telling me a lot of things I want to know. Tell me more about the garden club and what you have planned.
well, we plan on looking for the legacy trees, which I was telling you about. We have a group that is helping us. We are tree spotters, and we got a group together this year because of the initiative for the Tree City USA, and we call them Friends of Trees. And there's probably about 10 women who are in this group who are going to help with the process. And what we'll do is we'll send 2 out to different areas, to parks and wherever, and they will actually identify the trees. We also are going to put on our website a form, and in the form it will have all the information that any person could also put trees that are in their own yard that they think are, going to be legacy trees. And this year, for the first time, I looked on the Mass registry list of legacy trees, and we had no tree on the list.
Oh.
Holliston. So I decided that maybe we should. So I sent in a recommendation and an application for the School Street tree, which is the silver maple. It's 17 feet around.
Wow.
It's over 300 years old, and if it meets the right criteria, they can send it on to the national, which would then go into a champion tree. And I'm hopeful that happens.
Let's hope that happens.
But
yeah.
I thought that was kind of exciting.
That is. Nikki, tell me about one of my favorite events the Garden Club has, which is the plant sale.
So we have our annual plant sale coming up on Saturday, May 13th, on the green in front of the Congregational Church. We have it every year. As you said, it's one of the highlights of being in the Garden Club is being able to go and see all of the different plants that folks in the Garden Club donate, and then there's a wide variety of things, and then being able to talk to people about what plants they would like to plant in their yard and maybe what goes well and what they can do to do that. We also have this year a garden tour on Saturday, June 3rd.
Really? Oh, I can't wait for that. Tell me more.
So we have eight gardens on the tour, and tickets are available beforehand on our website or the day of at the library, but mostly garden club members. Gardens.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that will be
And the
spectacular.
tickets are like $25 if you
Oh,
buy
yeah.
them ahead, and $30 if you buy them on the day. And at each location, there's going to be a ticket or
A raffle.
Oh yeah, a raffle.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of fun.
Great. Well, becoming a tree city looks like a really good fit with Holliston's commitment to agriculture and green space. So you heard it here first from these volunteers and HCAT, the hub of Holliston. And don't forget to attend town meeting on May 15th and vote for the ordinance to make Holliston a tree city. Yes. For Heartbeat of Holliston, this is Chryso Lawless.